Hello there, welcome again. Glad you could join us on Let's Talk. And provides us a real opportunity of taking a look at issues that are trending on the Nigerian scene, also abroad too. But today's issues we'll be taking a look at what is happening back home here. And what we'll be talking about is oil pipeline vandalization and security challenges in Nigeria. It is one of the issues right now that the Nigerian government is really battling with. Serious challenge, trying to curb it over the years. We've been having it in the Niger Delta, so many issues of pipeline vandalization, losses of revenue. And the question is, what is the government really doing about it? What is the way forward? What is the solution? Is the government doing enough to curb this, talking about this scourge or whatever you might call it, that is not really helping our economy right now? And without much ado, with me to do justice to this issue is a gentleman, a legal practitioner. His name is Clement Ekpo. He's also a social expert and a public policy analyst. It's glad to have you on the show.
It's a pleasure, my brother.
It's great to be here. Now, Mr. Clement, talking about pipeline vandalization and Nigeria's security challenges. And so it has been quite a bone of contention right now, considering Nigeria's economy and revenue, considering how much we are losing from this incident reoccurring from time to time. It's been quite prevalent. Now, looking at post-amnesty, pre-amnesty, okay, it was at its height then, before the amnesty program came about, where the militants were, agitating for, a change because of the abuse and government's neglect to the area where these products are being, extracted. But after the amnesty program, the matter is still going on. Still, incidents are still, happening with the killing of engineers from one of the oil companies who went to try and plug one of the damaged pipelines. Now, what's your position on this current development right now?
Well, I would say that it's indeed a deplorable situation. It's pathetic. Speaking from the standpoint of a patriotic Nigeria, it is pathetic because, like you rightly said, it has a remarkable impact on the socio-economic status of Nigeria. It affects the country in diverse ways, even within the communities. You can also see its effect. It's something that when you get down to areas that have been affected as a result of it, you will know that while both the perpetrators may at one point or the other be victims, but in most cases also innocent persons, because of the prevailing effect of the product itself, when it comes in contact with, for example, fire. People who are innocent passerbys may be affected. The environment will be affected. Activities within the community will also be affected. And all that goes apart from also the impact it has in the national economy. So it's a pathetic situation. It's something that we have desired that government can formulate some policies or take some pragmatic steps to see to it that it is urgently arrested and not just on paper.
Okay, talking about steps, you just made a point there. If the government can take some deliberate steps towards, if not totally eradicating it, curbing it to a very minimal level, that we should be able to start from there. Now, for example, Lagos State, let me take Lagos State, for example. Way back, we had incidents like that coming up. Way back during the 2000 year era about where I think Ejigbo they had a pipeline explosion because of vandalism and all that. And I think the Lagos State has taken steps to make sure it curbs this, because its reoccurrence since then has been very rare, though you pointed out earlier sometime when we were talking before the show that, you know, there's been a current development on that issue, but it's been very rare. And don't you see, from that point of view, do you think that federal government is doing enough to stop this?
You know, without being too critical or appearing to be too critical to the federal governments, I always have this to say, that just like the owner of a house, you know, we have also an MD, CEO of this country. It will be foolhardy for us to hear the CEO of a house, of the country or a company, or just like the owner of a house, begin to complain that there are activities that are taking place in my house and I am unable, or I appear incapable of handling them. So when we talk about issues like this not being nipped on the bud, it is a clear show of ineptitude, you know, in the administration. You rightly mentioned Lagos State. You see, a leader that desires progress, a leader that wants things to be done rightly, you will know the policies that you will put in place. You will know the people that you will man to, you know, move and operate those policies. To get the because results. It's not enough for you to put them on paper. It's not enough to go on the to the press and begin to make the noise. What the people want to see is the impact. Like you said, we've had it terribly in Lagos State, early 2000s. But now you will even be surprised to hear that there is maybe incidents of pipeline vandalization in Lagos. Because of what? But the Lagos State government identified that because this is the nerve center of the economy of this country, it's important that every segment of the state is well guarded to encourage and ensure that the economic activities of the country or of the state is unhindered. And that's what they have done. They have collaborated with, although they do not have absolute control over the police, but they have collaborated with the police, they have collaborated with other security agencies to see to it that there is maximum surveillance run about the state, such that where there are attempts, in fact, before they could even successfully conclude, there are arrests that will be made. No doubt, there are, you know, the natural or technical ruptures that can also lead to pipeline breakages. But, and like we said, if we want to trace the history of vandalism of pipelines, it is not just that the people want to be unpatriotic. At one point or the other, if you trace it back, you discover that
there's a genuine.
Yes, supposedly not genuine. Supposedly there were grounds. People that were unemployed, people that were desperate, people that had nothing to do, and all of a sudden, if naturally or through technical errors, there was a rupture of a pipeline, and you saw that there is genuine fear that was coming out. In the meanwhile, in the society, there was scarcity, either artificial scarcity or as a result of there was no fuel. And then this young chap were picking it up and they were able to dispose it to get back in exchange funds. And they were being comfortable with, you know, that trade. And all of a sudden, maybe the government steps in and block it. While they go back temporarily to wait, something will begin to ring in their bed, in their head. Oh, this can be a means of, a source of livelihood. And before you know it, even at the hem of affairs, you know, we're just talking about the effect of it within the society. But if you want to dig into it, you want to know, how did it come about? Sometimes for you to break into a pipeline, I mean, that is carrying that, you will need sophisticated tools.
I was about to come to that.
You can't just do it. So they have syndicates. They have sponsors.
It's more like organized crime
It is an organized crime. For example, the one that just happened a few weeks ago within Ogun and Oyo State, that they were apprehended. One of them confessed that they were being sponsored by high politicians or rich politicians, to use his word. And that one of them said he is only a driver, a tanker driver. And all that he does is he's paid about 180,000 per trip. He does not know how much it's sold. All that the instruction is given, take your tanker, it is already painted with Total logo.
Okay.
Take it to this destination, and by the time you get there, they have maximum security. So they will fill your tank, and you take it to so spot and park it there and discharge. Oh, that is yours. And they will fill your tank, get you fuel or diesel, and then pay your money, and you go. So the question is, who are those behind this? So you can see that it's beyond that. Those at the top have discovered that the people at the downtrodden, or those who are seemingly helpless, they are looking for how they can also survive. And they have seen that this is a means of helping them to survive. Why they also satisfy their selfish aim. So, but in Lagos, that has been taken care of. So if we get back to your question, even within at the national level, it can also be taken care of. You know, our former president did something, President Obasanjo. He gave a warning to all the state governors that if at any point in time the incident of pipeline vandalization takes place, and the federal government have to come in by reason of rescuing, and they have to spend money, he made a warning, and he ensured that he implemented it, that every such fund that is expended in taking care of that will be deducted from their own state allocation.
Wow.
And he did that. And with that, it actually helped to some extent. We can also revert to that and say that policy can also continue. But that does not mean that the government, both the federal and the state government, cannot, just like we have seen it in Lagos, that they cannot arrest the situation. They can't. We have the JTF. It's part of it. We have the Defense Corps. They can also, we have order. In fact, the federal might is capable of taking charge and ensuring that the incidents of pipeline vandalization across the nation is put to a minimum or barest minimum level. Okay,
Mr. Ekpo, looking at the situation quite critically right now, a lot of analysts feel that there's so much the government has done about addressing the Niger Delta issue and vandalization to the extent that they should be able to actually nip this issue in the bud totally. Because looking at the amnesty program during that period where the militants were, turning in their weapons, there were a lot of discoveries were made. There were numerous, how do you call it, local refineries, as to say, and running into hundreds, littered all over the place, which is militants were willing to volunteer information to the government, and now some of them have even been turned into security operatives, to work within within those areas, those hostile areas. They have the intel to curb this. So is it an issue of security being compromised, or a lack of political will just to do this, because maybe it goes deeper, it runs deeper than we're looking at right now?
To answer your question, I will also get back to, there was one of the, when we were on set, when we were talking on the issue of Boko Haram or insecurity in the country, I did say it, and I've said it in many fora, that it is easier to break into a system that does not care about its people or the people around it. The best form of security is to guarantee and put a sense of belonging on the people in any system. Once that is done, and the people within the system are conscious at every point in time that I am guaranteed, it will be difficult for an outsider to break into that place or into that system. Now, I say that to say this. Like you said, it is no doubt that whatsoever structure that is put in place or system, there is a tendency to compromise it.
Okay.
Both by those even who are the policy makers,
Okay.
because some of them are connected to these syndicates. And so that is one of the reasons why even when certain maybe allocations are supposed to be made, they will not make it. Why? Because if they should make it, certain things that needed to be put in place will not be put in place. The tendency is to create a deliberate deprivation that will further push those that they are using to have no other options, so that by the time they are coming with their own selfish propositions, the people would just open their arms. Like the incident I said in Oyo and Ogun State. What happened? One of the arrested fellow confessed that they are well guarded by security operatives.
Yes.
These security operatives are paid with the Nigerian taxpayers' money. How were they stationed or assigned to those beats, to guard those beats? Under whose control or command are they? And they are wearing Nigerian security uniforms. And some of these tankers, when they are driving, they go with them to escort them to avoid any disturbance on the road. And like you know, if a tanker driver tanker is passing here with the inscription Total or Mobil, why should you in the world suspect that this tanker is not carrying fuel from the actual depot? So there is always a deliberate structure. Even when they are making the laws or the policies, someone is reading it. Before it could even come to a conclusion, they must have already distributed it to their own syndicate, so that they can study it and see how they can compromise it.
Okay.
So both the policymaker and those who are implementing it, the circle, we need to also see how we can revamp it. If, like I say, if it can work in Lagos, at least to this barest minimum, that we can now have some peace, then
it can be done.
It can be done.
It can be replicated elsewhere.
You can replicate it. There's nothing wrong coming to Lagos to say, how did you do it?
All right.
We can share
information. Yeah, okay.
Those ideas, it can be shared and it can be done. Because, for example, now we have it within the Oyo Ogun State. We have it in the east. We have it within the Niger Delta. It is on the higher side. Like you said, these are people who have tested it. So if you're bringing them out, you must consistently train them and reprogram their mindsets and give them some assurance or put structures in place that would discourage them from going into it.
All right. Thank you, Mr. Ekpo. He has said putting structures in place is one of the very important things government must do. Now, what are we talking about? In case you just joined us, this is Let's Talk, and I have been trying to discuss and find a way around this, how do you call it, a challenge that the government is facing concerning oil pipeline vandalization and security challenges in Nigeria. And Mr. Ekpo has been doing quite a lot on helping us shed some more light and actually understand the issue more better. Now, you have said it that right now the present situation, it looks as if let's start with the figures now. What Nigeria is losing to this. Okay, in the last 10 years, we're talking about 174.57 billion naira, okay? And Ghana, who just discovered oil, producing at least 100,000 barrels per day. Reports have said that that is what Nigeria loses on a daily basis to this scourge. Okay, now, is it a deliberate attempt now to leave this thing the way it is so that the government of the day can have a loophole not to be accountable and say, okay, because of this, what we are losing here, we cannot give you actual figures. We cannot, it gives room, as you were saying earlier, it gives room for unaccountability. It gives room for, I don't know what to put it, but it gives room for governments to get off.
No, I don't.
Being boxed into a corner. Do you think that?
I would not want to buy that.
Okay.
If whatever sector, for example, NNPC, could come up with the statistics or detailed figure as to what Nigeria is supposedly losing as a result of the activities of pipeline vandalizers, it presupposes that for every petroleum product transactions that takes place, either successfully or breached, that corporation has the exact figures.
Okay, and has the desire to
Yes.
stop it.
And why? Because if they do not have the figure, how did they come about the figure of the one that is bad?
Okay.
I mean, that has to do with the vandalized product, or the product that is lost as a result of vandalism.
But how are we sure it's not a cover-up?
Well, we might say so, but that on their own has also further nailed them.
Okay.
Should they decide to build upon it for their unaccountability? But you can also use that to extrapolate.
Okay.
And say, if, for example, Nigeria is losing so much, notwithstanding, we still have successful activities within the oil sector. Okay. So you can use that to relate and connect, even if we are not going to have the exact figure from them. So that will not be the basis upon which, if you can give us a figure of what, so it's as painful as that you can go and have some painstaking discovery or research as to what Nigeria is losing. Then on the successful aspect, you can also give Nigeria, and Nigeria is entitled. The only reason why at this point we are not yet getting that is as a result of our inability to stand up and demand for accountability from our leaders.
Our leaders. Okay.
It is Nigerians that need to demand for accountability.
All right. I like what you have just said. You've made a very crucial point. Nigerians must hold their leaders accountable. Accountable. They must demand that, what are you doing? What are you doing in this light? There should be a blueprint, okay, for stopping this thing. Yes. Okay, you should be able to tell us that in the next 6 months, this is what we plan to achieve in this industry.
Yes.
Okay. Now, there's so many issues we could talk about on this issue that we do not have enough time, but I'd like to ask you, my last question is, right now, we've not even talked about the location of these pipelines within residential areas, which is not a very good thing in terms of the implication, health implications, the livelihood of the people has been destroyed totally. What do you think the government should do now? What is the way forward?
Well, you see, that is also as a result of a system failure or temporary system failure. See, currently, when you get to some of the residential locations or newly found residential location, you'll discover that whether it is the local government or the state government, they are not doing what they ought to have done. For example, what I know is that it is the local council that is expected to determine residential areas within its council, and that it ought to ensure that before residents will be established in a particular area, that place is well mapped out and organized. But the contrary,
the challenge of development before planning.
Yes, fiscal planning.
Okay.
Fiscal and town planning. We do not have it here. So you found out that here, once you locate a place that is conducive, seemingly conducive, you see people moving in there to establish. And whether that place has been mapped out in the master plan to be the location where a pipeline needs to pass, we do not want to know, because a pipeline would not be on the surface. At least you would dig deep to have it. So the ordinary man does not want to bother. But it is the government that needs to come and say, no, in this area, these areas have been excluded. So the government needs to come in and help the people to know, if you're relocating or if you want to establish, this place is mapped out, is excluded from this residential area for these reasons. And that should be made clear. It's not after the people have come to reside in the area and then you will come and ask them not to, because even when you're asking them not to move, you are not going to give sufficient compensation that will make up. So the government needs to take care of those areas. That way they can also help to discourage the contact of pipelines. Locations, so that also will have limit or reduce the temptation to bring about vandalization of those pipelines.
Thank you very much, Mr. Ekpo. You've done so well. I really appreciate you coming to the show. And as you've heard it from Mr. Clement Ekpo, he's been talking, we've been talking together about oil pipeline vandalization and security challenges in Nigeria. And so much we have to talk about today, but because of time, we cannot go into other issues. Well, I hope you had a very enlightening watch with us today on the show. And the question still remains. We must hold the government accountable. We must hold them accountable, and definitely we must make sure that the government can actually tell us and give us a roadmap to resolving these challenges. Well, until next time when we bring you another edition of Let's Talk. It's great to be here. My name is Henry Williams. Thank you, Mr. Ekpo, for coming on the show. It's really been great to have you. And that's how we draw the curtain on today's edition of Let's Talk.